Shalom and welcome to Life Lessons number 41. And we are in the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, and we are in parshat, the section of Pinchas. Now, like every other parasha, there's so many different details. And here the parasha goes into the census that was taken from the Jewish population as they are ready to enter the land of Israel. So this is the 40th year in the desert after the Exodus, and we know they were supposed to go in right away, but because of certain things that have happened, God says you will stay in the desert for 40 years. So now they're about to enter, so God says the same as when a shepherd counts his sheep, when they come in and when they go, out of love. So the same thing here. He wants to count them, an expression of love, how many they are. And that's what the census is here. Right after the census, because each tribe, it goes into details, and each tribe, this is in chapter 26. Now, towards of the end of this chapter comes the Torah and says as follows. God spoke to Moses, and he told him, to these people, all those that were counted in these census, they're the ones that are going to inherit the land. And this should be according to their names as they were included in the census. How is it going to work? So he says, to a large tribe, you'll be given an inheritance. You'll be given a large inheritance. A small tribe, you'll be given a smaller inheritance. Each one should be given an inheritance according to their size. Now comes in the verse says, but you must only appropriate the land by a means of lottery. They will inherit, their portion will be divided according to the names of their tribal ancestors. So the way it works, it explains, the land of Israel got divided by portions, and the portions were more or less equal. In other words, some got a little bit of a mountain, some got a little bit of a valley, that it should be right for each one. However, they were appropriated to the tribes. So a lottery was thrown, and there were 12 pieces of paper with the name of the tribe, and then there were 12 districts. The land of Israel was divided into 12 zones, and then the priest will pick up from one pile a name, from the other pile a portion, and they went together. But that wasn't enough by that. It was also connected that the high priest was dressed with his clothing, and he had the breastplate that used to light up by divine inspiration, they tell us. And more than that, and this is what we come to here, it says, it doesn't make a difference how numerous or how small they were, the inheritance should be appropriate through the amount of the lottery. The verse says, through the amount of the lottery. Now, if I don't go by the literal meaning of it, it means according to the lottery. But then the verse says about the amount of the lottery, so that brings what our sages tell us, that there was an unbelievable miracle, that the lottery itself spoke. See, as the papers were coming out, it's like almost a voice was coming out from these pieces of paper and announcing, this in this land, this in this portion goes to tribe so and so. Now, obviously, we've seen when we read the Torah or the Bible, we see quite a lot of times there is miracles and there's things that are out of the ordinary. But there's a very important rule in the Talmud. God does not perform a miracle that's unnecessary. Just to prove the point that he could make miracles, he had proven his point. Don't need to do that. So the only reason why there'll be a miracle, if there's something very important, a lesson that we need to take out, and something that we could learn for all the generations to come, and even for our decade, for our area. So why was it so important here that we had that the lottery itself is speaking? What is the idea of it? What is this trying to tell us? So we need to understand, to begin with, what's going on over here about going into Israel, conquering the land, and taking it as an inheritance. Now we're dealing with God. When we deal with God, so we know He could do a lot of things. It's up to Him to do things in a natural way, where no miracles necessary. And for quite many of us, we do our things day by day. We don't even realize that it is all one big miracle. That we're alive, and God provides and sustains. And we also know that sometimes He does make a statement. So here's something interesting. We see from the beginning of time, from the beginning of the Chumash, as we say, beginning of the Torah, there's something that stands out there. Besides the idea that there is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the 12 tribes, and there's Egypt, there's an Exodus, we all see it's all going around about that besides that there is the people, there's also the land. There's also the land that belongs to them. And that's interesting by itself, because we know that many times you could be religious, you could be observant wherever you are. You not necessarily need to have a piece of land attached to your religion, to your observancy. You may be, let's say, for example, Catholic or whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be that your country needs to be Catholic. We could have that argument with the Muslims. They may think that you do have to have, but that's not a discussion for now. But what we find something very interesting when it came to Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, as we would call the Israelites, God did say, besides that there was a revelation on Mount Sinai and the building of the sanctuary, we see throughout the Torah, throughout the Bible, the whole time, and I will take you to the promised land. So it's not just coming out of Egypt. It's not just receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai. There's a goal. You're going to need to come and settle in the land. So obviously there's something here. So in Kabbalah, what's the mystical concepts of the Torah, they explain the deeper meaning that what we learn from this. Because that's attached to another important point. There could have been, when they come back to Israel, that there's a great miracle, and all the inhabitants of Israel just accept them and finished. Move away, give them their place. But we find in the book of Joshua that wasn't simple. They came back and there was war. They had to fight. They had to conquer. So the word conquer seems is a very important point. Now, it does not have to be what we would call a physical conquer. It could also be a spiritual conquer. What does it mean? The way God created the world, there is what it looks like, and then there is what it is supposed to be, and what God expects it to be. A lot of time what it looks to us is chaotic, challenges, a lot of no good things. But beyond all that, as we would say, the layer beyond all this is that it is a world that God wants. So what does God want from us? He wants we should transform. He does not want that things should just be easy and therefore we just receive a gift from above that everything is wonderful. It is a fact because that's the system that it has been, that God wants. We should work hard, overcome our challenges, and then the benefit is unbelievable. But we need to show to God that I moved, I did something. I didn't walk in and all of a sudden it's all mine. So therefore the word conquering becomes a very important point, because besides the point that this comes out in the physical sense, the source of it is the spiritual sense. So the same as we would say in education, as we all have been children and we all hopefully have matured. So when we were kids, we know there was the right thing to do, to get good grades, to learn, to study. But at the same time, as kids, we had the challenges on our level. I don't want to study now. I'd rather go play outside. I'd rather go visit a friend right now. And what happens? But then, for example, I know the next few days is going to be a test or something, and I put myself into it, and I push on the side all other things that are interfering, because now I'm only thinking I need to get good grades and have to work on it, and everything else will wait now. That's called, spiritually speaking, also conquering, because you had conquered the temptation inside us, or inside you, as you would say, to do the right thing. And each one of us, it's differently. What for some of us could be, look like simple things, for another person that could be a mountain. What for another person could be such a challenge, it's like climbing a mountain. Okay, so each one according to our levels, but the bottom line is, when we conquer, then it's not only that we feel good, we just created a dent in these temptations that next time when they come around, it's a whole different story. I know I could do it. I have done it. I've been successful. So then when I mature even more and I'm ready to take on life in general, I've been prepared. And it's a whole different story. So that's in a way what's going on over here. What does it mean now? Again, in Kabbalah, in the deeper meaning, how they look on it is, that whatever we do, and again we're looking on here, to do what God wants. In Hebrew, the land of Israel is also called Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land. As many people call Israel, the Holy Land. What's the idea of a Holy Land? A Holy Land means is that everything needs to be transformed from mundane to holy. And that's a lesson to everything that we do. Now, when we do that, it depends many times how much effort have we put in to transform things. If I use the example as we preparing ourselves for a test or things like this that I said before, many times that's a total commitment. So when am I involved in something? It is in my thought, my speech, and my action. In Kabbalah, and we know that's the way it is, each one of us has these three faculties, has thought, speech, and action. That's possible many times, because we don't know, when a person is not fully involved. So it could be he's thinking about something else completely. He could be talking about who knows what. When it comes to action, he's trying to do the right thing, but not necessarily his speech is good, not profane, the right thing. And to go more than that, for most of us, we don't know what's in somebody else's thoughts, and we have no idea. As we all know very well, the person could smile and could say nice things, but you have no idea if that's really in the thought of the person. That in Talmud, there's many times that expression that your mouth and your heart are on the same page. Your mouth and your heart are on the same page. So to be fully involved means, so everything that I have, I give it all the way. It's an interesting thing, I mentioned many times, is the human being, the thinking process that a person has is there all the time. If the person doesn't feed his mind what to think, then it'll think on its own. If you're going to walk on the streets and you're not really think about anything special, whatever it is, so your mind will be thinking about the car that it just saw, about, oh, this person is dressed very interesting, and, things are fun. But if you concentrate on something, you're trying to solve a problem, so even when you're walking, you're also thinking in that direction. If your mind is, how can I make this world a better world? So that's what you're thinking the whole time. That's what your speech is all about. That's what your action is all about. So whatever we do is connected with it. And to translate that when it comes to Judaism and Yiddishkeit, is same thing that way. It's not just when I show up to services, that's when I act on me being observant. It's, as we would say in our language today, I'm a 24/7 involved in what I'm doing. There's no stop. But that demands all parts of it: thought, speech, and action. Therefore, they tell us something very interesting. Therefore, it came out this way that's the message that God is giving. When He's about to tell them how they should divide the land, because that's the goal, that's the purpose, to come into the land of Israel and to conquer it. So therefore, everything that has to do, the thought that's going to go into it, and the action that's going to go into divide it, that this is clear, there's an involvement here. So not only this, also there was speech, so that the lot in a way spoke up to bring out the point that all three faculties all are there: the thought, the speech, and the action. And this brings out a very interesting point. There's a story of the third Lubavitcher Rebbe that is known as the Tzemach Tzedek, that somebody came to him and he said, I think as I'm getting older, I would like to move to the Holy Land because I would like to do everything in the Holy Land. The Tzemach Tzedek answered him, it's a famous one, he told him in Yiddish, Mach do Eretz Yisrael. Make Israel right here. Why do you have to move over there? There's no question, something important to move there, but he's trying to tell him that if you're talking about to transform something into holiness, you could learn that from what's happening in Israel and do it wherever you want, wherever you live. No, so I don't have to wait. You know what? Right now I'm just giving it 50%, 60%. When I move to Israel, that's when I'll give it 100%. No, wherever we find ourselves, we have a mission. And when I am in a mission, I give it everything that I have. Thought, speech, and action. And this brings to another interesting point, an important one. The lottery is only a preparation to go into Israel. And God has many ways how this could happen. It didn't have to be that way. So you have the actually going into Israel, and then before they went into Israel, there was a preparation. Part of the preparation was the division. How are they going to divide the land? Many times we think that the main thing is just the goal itself, but all the preparations to it, not necessarily we think it's that important. And we don't give it so much importance, and we don't put so much emphasis on it. So what happens many times is if the preparation are not done right, then when we come to the thing itself, then the thing itself also is not done right. And this is in a way what God is trying to teach us about, that the goyal, that the lot spoke up, that even the preparation has to be with the full attention as the thing itself. If the simple examples that we all know, if I'm going to come unprepared to take a test and I'm going to just rely on my brains, we know that maybe sometimes we could be lucky, it might work, but most of the times there's going to be a problem. The preparation is very important. The same as I'm going to build a building. There's a preparation to do. You can't come, okay, let me bring the truck with the cement, let's start. Where are the blueprints? What? Blueprints? I didn't know. Let's figure things out. So we know, and we know very well how the preparation for, if it's blueprints, how it's thought, speech, and action. Everything is thought out very, very well. So the preparations are something that are very, very important in our life. And this becomes a very important lesson, because many times we don't give too much importance to preparations. And we think it's a secondary thing. So especially when it comes in religious things, in overcoming challenges, in doing the right thing, preparation is not just preparation, it is part of the whole situation. It's part of the system itself. It's a very interesting story with the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab. The custom was he would give from time to time a Hasidic discourse. The Hasidic discourse was a long discourse. Now, before he began his discourse was always what they called Nigun Hachana, a song of preparation. They would sing for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they would sing a special song, and after when they finished singing, then he would start speaking. So it was known as a preparation. One time, the students, they were very anxious to hear already the talk itself. So they were rushing the song because they want to already get to the speech. And the Rebbe noticed that, so he stopped and he told them, in order that you should be able to understand properly the talk, the preparation also has to be without a rush. So, and we see that many times, a lot of times is, I'm not going to go in on simple, what we'd call silly things. I'm not going to read the instructions because I think I know what they are, and then I spend more time trying to figure this thing out because especially the men, that they think they don't need to read instructions. We all know that. But there is a very interesting Hasidic saying that I was going to quote it. And it says as follows. That's also from the fifth Rebbe. It's in Yiddish, and I'll translate it. It says, Apnimi, also sertut, liegt in dem in Ganzen. Apnimi means an inner person. What does it mean, an inner person? An inner person means that he has a sense of consistency. It's not, sometimes some people, there is the outside of them, and then there's the real them. Apnimi in Hebrew means a real person. What you see, this is what the person is. So such a person is not in two places at once. Okay? Is not in two places. In other words, when they are involved in something, they are fully involved, completely involved. And in a person, everything they do, they put themselves into entirely. And that's a very important point. I've seen it many times, for example, by the Lubavitcher Rebbe of blessed memories. When a person will come and talk to him, at that moment, he will give that person attention like nothing else exists. How many times somebody stops us, asks a question, your mind is somewhere else, you're really not interesting to talk to that person. To some, it'll be very obvious very quickly. Just give them an answer and you want to get going already. Or even, let's say, somebody is talking to you and you were, in our days, we have very good examples, and you're busy looking on your texts. Are you busy? Are you listening? Yeah, I'm listening. Keep on talking. You're really not giving attention because you're doing something else. To really, so a pnimi, an inner person puts themselves in completely in what they're doing. As a story from the other side, they say there was a known joker in the Jewish world. He was known as the Herschel Astapolo. This Herschel Astapolo was, the story goes with him, he had a hard life, but he was a very happy person. He'd always make people very happy. Now, there was a town, in the shtetl, as we would say, there was a wealthy person that lived there, and everyone knew that this is the house that had some food, so if people are hungry, that's where they could go. The only thing is that guy had a terrible habit, that whenever you came to a poor person came in, he would invite him to the table, but then he would start talking to them, asking many questions, and that person, by the time he finished answering everything, the waiter came and took away everything, and he didn't have a chance to eat. So Herschel came. He brings the food. The guy asks him, "How is so-and-so doing?" "Oh, he's dead." He starts eating. "How's so-and-so doing?" "Oh, also dead." "How's so-and-so?" "Also dead." When he finished eating Herschel, so he tells him, "By the way, everyone is alive, everyone is doing well." "What are you talking? What did he tell me this?" "When I'm eating, everyone is dead. It's only me and my plate." It's kind of a joke if it's really not. But the idea of that is some of us, when we do some things, when it comes to eating, we're fully involved and nothing else exists. The same thing has to be when we serve God. Total involvement, even if it's only the preparation. May God help us that we should be successful.